many devices do you talk to?
Not in front of the alien overlords.
That's right. That's pretty good.
You're the one who put them in your home.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That is Eric over there.
Hello.
That is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
And I am Kelly. We are in person, which is always my favorite way to do this. You guys, Snow White opened this weekend.
Yeah.
Guess it did halfway decently. So,
Shocking.
Disney, really? Is that shocking? Here's my problem. I have a problem with the casting of Snow White.
Good Lord, yes. I think go ahead. I'm very curious if you're thinking the same thing I am.
Well, it's the same thing I had the casting of the last Snow White movie with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay. So the evil queen is like, who's the fairest of the land? And it's always the evil queen until Snow White shows up, right?
Yeah.
In the Kristen Stewart movie, what was that? The Huntsman and Snow White or something like that?
Yeah.
The evil queen was Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
And
Really?
only the most beautiful woman in the world. And then Kristen Stewart is somehow prettier than her. I call bullshit.
She's got that girl next door look.
She's not more attractive than Charlize Theron.
Look at the original cartoon. See the difference between the evil queen and Snow White.
And so in this new one, I don't even know who's playing Snow White, but the evil queen is Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Only the other most beautiful woman in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys cannot cast your evil queens prettier than Snow White.
It seems ridiculous. Like, look in that mirror and say that, and it comes back with somebody else. I'm like, okay.
Well, no wonder they are so furious, because clearly they'd be looking at Snow White going, that old thing?
I mean, is it just because she's younger? Is that supposed to be how they're selling it?
Well, that's just it. Like, Charlize Theron was 42 or something in that movie, and I was like, she is quite possibly the most beautiful woman on the planet right now at 42 years old. This was bad casting.
Yeah.
She should have played Snow White if that was going to be the casting.
No, you've got a pretty good point there. Did you end up seeing this thing?
No, I'm going to see this and then get angry. I'm standing up in the middle of all these parents with their kids. I'm like, is everyone with me? She is not prettier than the evil queen.
I saw the trailer and saw the dwarves and was like, I cannot.
The dwarves are CGI, right?
Those
Yeah,
are
they
weird
look
looking.
horrible. It's like Uncanny Valley again. We're like going back into that universe of like, it's a little too human, but not quite human enough. And it's weird and cartoony, but people-y.
And that was the point, right? Because we hate little people and we don't want them
cannot
to
cast
have
them.
jobs.
Cannot cast them. Absolutely not.
Well, there's that local Snow White movie that opened last night, did a premiere last night as well.
Oh, did they do that? Okay.
Yeah, down in L.A.
I know that the castle they built for that set is like in Monroe or something like that. It's right around the corner from here. And I saw the trailer for that. I was like, that looks fun.
Looks good. They have
a gory horror Snow White.
Oh, nice. I have not heard about this
little
one.
people. And of course, then they actually cast like Eric Pope, who I think is 10 feet tall.
Is he playing one of the dwarves?
I would think not.
Troll. That was my Snow White stuff. Okay, guys. Vanessa, I know you'll have some thoughts on this. I watched the season finale of Severance.
Oh, yes.
The fuck?
The fuck. Indeed. I mean, we got some answers.
Did we?
Yeah.
They did say they're going to do a third season much quicker this time, too.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah,
that would be
not
real
gonna be 3
nice.
years between till season 3.
I know. I was like, oh, God, please. I cannot wait that long.
I mean, we still don't know what the point of the Unicon or whatever they're called.
Lumen?
Yeah. We still don't know what the point of that is.
No, we don't know the greater purpose, but we know what the Severance entire like purpose of the Severance floor is. We understand much more what is going on with Gemma and like what they're hoping to achieve.
Well, we've learned much more. Do we understand much more? I mean,
maybe
there's
not
a scene there where they're
100%.
going to sacrifice a goat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, are we getting into satanic territory all of a sudden? Or what is this?
It's a cult. It is part cult, part tech, part whatever. And
Yeah.
it's got some weird religious affiliations. So there is a sort of sacrifice happening between the person and the goat. And apparently they've done this again and again and again.
As many times as it takes, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this about me, Vanessa, but in my 30s, I did a little Sinatra tribute show.
Oh.
And I snuck in a lot of Bobby Darin, who's my favorite artist of all time. And so to say that I was pleased at the very end of the credits when a Bobby Darin song came on is taking it very lightly. I was like, I'm always happy to see a Bobby Darin appearance. Anything new.
Did you feel like you enjoyed the show overall?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's a marching band segment there
Yes.
that I was like, this is going on too long, and it's so bizarre
Yeah.
that I was just like, I'm having a real hard time with this scene.
Yeah. I feel like, it's just another Easter egg of like what other random departments do they have and why.
And why? Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't fully sure. I don't know. I still have a lot of confusion around things going on. Like the end of last season, it feels like this whole season Milchick is like pissed at them
Yeah.
for doing that. But there's like a motivational poster in their break room of what's his name, holding the two pieces together apart, and it's kind of that like hang in there baby
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, well, why are they making them sound like heroes, but then Milchick is like straight up like pissed at them about it? Like you can't really have both. So I don't know. I don't fully get some of that stuff, but that's okay.
Yeah. For me, it feels like there is a lot of weirdness for weirdness sake.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
never satisfying at the end when you find out what it is, because then you're going to go, well, then why do they have this marching band who are all innies? Mm-hmm. What is their purpose? They're just to
Right.
Entertainment and I can't remember what he called them, entertainment and something division.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe is he building his future like pyramid to be, buried in kind of thing, like that he's got to have a little bit of everything, or I don't fully get that, but I feel like I was pissed at the ending of this and then realized that you had to have the ending they had so we would have a season 3. So I get that. I think season 3 is going to be
the ending.
I think season 3 is going to be the revolution.
Has to be.
It has to be.
You
That's
hope.
why the marching band is there.
You hope.
Yeah.
See, that's part of why
I
you mentioned part of the
know.
reason I sort of faded out on the show in the first season. And I don't know, maybe I'll go back and check, because I have a real hard time with weirdness for weirdness sake. Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of like, well, is your weirdness going somewhere?
Right.
Like, usually, not always, but usually Lynch's films' weirdness goes someplace, or at least has some kind of meaning or reason behind it, which I appreciate. But the first season hit me a little bit like, so it sounds like it's good enough that it's still worth checking out.
I think
because it goes a little bit beyond that.
Yeah.
I think it
cool.
does. I think you might enjoy it, especially this season. I feel like there's a lot more world building where you're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit more context for why this is this way, or
Cool.
I don't know. I just think you might enjoy it more if you see the season.
Very cool.
I think my favorite scene had to be Milchick having this snarky conversation with the animatronic of the founder.
Oh my God, so good. So good. And you're like, who is voicing this? He's getting really pissy back and forth. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, so incredibly good.
So, yeah.
Yep. My brother had slightly spoiled something where he said, I laughed so hard constantly at the elevator thing. And I was like, what?
Oh.
And then was like, yeah, okay, that's fucking great.
Yeah, and then where that went with him being able to utilize it, I was like, oh, this is a really smart thing. I'm glad that they made it mean something.
Yeah,
So
same.
anyway, that's Severance. It's on Apple Plus. Costs $2 million an episode. So watch it, Eric, so that they can get a couple of cents back.
Well, you know, we saw that article I sent the other day where Apple's using about $1 billion a year on Apple TV. So
Yeah.
yeah, $2 million an episode. Pocket change for their losses.
That's what I'm telling you. It's all going to wolves. Like, if you're going to have a film with fucking Brad Pitt and George Clooney, those people don't come cheap. That is several, episodes of Severance right there.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, I watched a show that's kind of getting some buzz right now on Netflix, Adolescence, which is a British show. It's 4 episodes long. Each episode's roughly an hour, and kind of gives you moments in time surrounding this kid who is accused of murdering somebody. So in the first episode, he's arrested. And then...
and he's like a young kid,
He's
right?
a young kid. He looks very young. He looks like he's like 9 or 10. He's actually closer to maybe 14,
Oh,
13.
okay.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, maybe like freshman in high school kind of age. But yeah, so he looks extremely innocent. He's obviously from a family that is very caring and loving, maybe not super like rich, but the cool thing about each episode is it's so contained. They're all sort of oneers. So whether or not they're actually oneers, you don't know, but you're following this camera up and down and around and going from one character to the next, to this, to that. We're in the car now, and then we're at the police station. And it's really clever the way it's done and choreographed, and also exhausting to think how many times they had to do it to get it right. Because even if you're splitting it up, there's like long, conversations.
And I read an article that said they didn't split it up. Those are all true oneers.
God.
So I haven't
Man.
seen it yet, but it sounds fascinating and disturbing.
It's really depressing. It's really tough to sit through because of it's just a sad story, and you can't get around that. And it is disturbing because the kid actor's so good, and the whole question is maybe not so much from what I was hearing. It's not so much about whether or not he did it, it's why. And you have these moments of seeing him as this innocent kid, and then other moments where the actor almost puts on this adult persona, which is really distressing. And you just get to watch this kid. This is the first thing he's ever been in, and he just fluxes in and out of these weird tonal shifts that they make you. I'm getting shivers right now just talking about it, but it's really cool. It is kind of strange though structurally, because the first episode he's getting arrested, the second episode it's like 3 days later, and then it's a much bigger time later, and then a much even bigger time later. So you don't get to see all the in-between things that happen, but you do get a clue with each episode, kind of where everyone's at and what's going on. So
Wow.
One of the things they pointed out in this article I read was the interrogation scene
Yeah.
with this kid. And it was the director saying the only reason this scene works is because the kid did not realize how hard it would be. And he had never done anything like this, and he had never talked to anybody like this about it. So he had no idea that what he was doing was impossible.
Jeez.
And I was like, okay, I gotta
Wow.
fucking watch this kid.
yeah, no, it sounded like, this kid had no formal training. They just kind of found him, and he was just nailed it. He was just doing great
Wow.
work.
And so you've watched all of it.
yeah, I've seen all of it.
And you were satisfied with the ending?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really well done little show. It's a slice of life. It doesn't feel like a 3-act structure. It feels like the way short films work, where you're just in a moment in time. So you're just a fly on the wall in people's lives. And it feels very honest in a really cool way. I feel like I have a much better understanding of the British judicial system. And,
Well, I've watched Vera now, so I'm pretty much an expert.
it's so undramatized that you're like, when they're processing the kid, like they all kind of have to be really nice because he's underage and they can't get in trouble and whatever. So everyone's really cool to him. And you're like, you almost don't realize how much trouble he's in because they're like, all right, mate, you eaten yet today? Okay, all right, we're gonna get you some Frosted Flakes here in a minute. And there's just a lot of like, okay, you're doing really good. All right, now we got to do this thing, and it's hard. It's hard to watch, but yeah, no, I highly recommend it. But also, you should be in like a good mental state when you're.
The other,
I'm never watching that.
the other distressing thing I heard was that although it's not based on an actual case, it's based on several cases of young people who have mostly stabbing murders.
Yes, that is the big thing there.
And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah,
because I think they were saying that this case is kind of based on like an 11-year-old who had done this.
Yeah. So
in
the UK, since guns are so difficult to get a hold of, most people, most of the crime is stabbing, and it happens constantly. So when I was living in London, at one point my family was going to buy me like a stab-proofed hoodie because literally I knew a guy who was like on the train and like looked down and he was bleeding and he was like, somebody fucking stabbed me?
Oh my God.
And he had to go to the hospital because somebody just randomly stabbed. But
crime will find a way.
Yes, crime will find a way. Although you can survive a lot of stab wounds.
True.
So like there was somebody who survived, I think it was 62 stab wounds.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So you have a better
Somebody's
chance.
targeting was off on that one. Go all around the heart.
I've seen, I've never seen a stab wound, but I've seen a lot of axe wounds before. So, Eric, what have you been watching?
Jeez
Quickly moving
Louise.
on to a show that, a movie, an actual film. Companion, which I believe we've all seen now.
Yeah.
And I did manage to avoid all the stuff about it.
Oh.
Although the poster led me actually to a different thing of what she was as to what she actually was. So that worked out nicely.
Good. Like a demon or something?
Yeah. So overall, good film.
Yeah.
It's got some weird moments where you're like, okay, I guess you gotta have this scene or the movie kind of ends. But overall, really good. It was neat to see Jack Quaid being different than what we're used to seeing. He seems to be on his high upward trajectory this year.
Yeah.
But and Sophia Thatcher, of course, she's done a lot of good stuff. But yeah, overall fun, entertaining film. Again, kind of want to try not to be too spoilery with it, but if you've seen anything, I think the description of it being, Black Mirror-esque is a really good one. So if you like those shows, you definitely want to check this one out. Not saying exactly what's going on, but you get the idea of tech's involved.
Yeah.
But smart film. Just really good movie.
I do want to get spoilery
Spoilery.
about this because the ending was the only thing that I didn't absolutely love, and it was the very ending where she takes the money, and I was like, okay, so I'm rooting for you this entire time, and now you have now done the thing that they were doing this for.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
are now the person.
I was like, I would love to have seen that just change with like, I'm going to burn the house and the money and everything, and then just go be who I am.
Yeah.
But turning her then kind of criminal on instead of victim, I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
So that was literally my only complaint to that.
But how else will she start a life anew?
She's dialed up to 100% on her intelligence.
She would be
Figure
fine.
something out.
She would be super fine. It's true. Yeah.
But that's out for, I think it's Rent still, but a few different platforms. Well, we're checking out. It might be to, I don't know, Hulu or maybe Paramount Plus by now.
I know, right?
Or you can watch it if you're a subscriber.
One of them.
Companion, that's a good one. Okay, then the other one I want to watch came as a little bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think that I needed a all-black cast version of Kingpin, but that's what I got with The Gutter on
The comedy
Hulu.
film, Kingpin?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay, cool.
it's basically Kingpin about a kid who's never bowled and turns out he's amazing. And so these people are going to use him to raise money to save the bowling alley and all this. And of course, he's up against a motley crew of different bowlers, but one of them is Susan Sarandon, who has come out of retirement to bowl again because she can't let this punk take over her records.
Oh my God.
And I don't know how old Susan Sarandon is, 900 or something.
Yeah.
She's still so beautiful. I was like, wow. So I know she's not 900, but what is she, 78?
I don't
Gotta
know how
be.
old she is.
It's got to be in their 70s.
She was in Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was 75.
Yeah,
So
she
she
was
was
like
She's probably like 20
20s at that
yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever she's doing it right. Anyway, it's filthy. And it's, if you don't like the N-word, there's going to be a lot of words you don't like in this. It is an all-black cast.
On a weird sidebar when you say that,
Yeah.
watching British shows, when they had a whole episode on Vera about illegal cigarettes. You know what they call
Oh,
it?
yeah, I sure do.
Oh, right.
So it's like,
The F word.
like words are interesting.
Yes, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, this is called The Gutter. Eric, I know you'll love it. Vanessa, you'll hate it. It's very broad
Probably.
comedy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I probably won't enjoy it.
But it's on Hulu.
Oh, awesome. Well, I checked out something I think you talked about, Kelly, which was The Electric State.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Like there was so much I really liked about it that it was a little frustrating that it didn't have better connective tissue. I think that there were some just really great set pieces. I thought the actors all did a pretty good job. I liked the world building that they did. I did not mind that it was an action family movie.
You were familiar with the source material?
Yeah, I actually have all the books.
Okay.
Yeah, I
and
have
so
the
that's what you're talking, the connective tissue to that you would have liked to have seen more.
just connective tissues from scenes to scene.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, at one point they go to New Mexico from wherever they are, and you're like, could have used some of the in between footage, or like her becoming an orphan. You're just like, okay, I would have liked to see any kind of lead up into here so that I would care and understand more about your situation. There's just little things here and there.
100% agree with that because the way they explain it is through flashbacks. And Eric,
Yeah.
flashbacks are the refuge of the weak rat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And then they end up in Seattle. They're like, we got to travel 1,000 miles. And you're like, I don't know who's going on this trip. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know like how you set it up. I know we're in Seattle. I know that there's an island that doesn't exist now that's somehow housing a giant complex.
And I was like, why did this have to be Seattle? Why couldn't this have been San Francisco and
Right.
Alcatraz or someplace where we know there is an island
Yeah,
that makes sense?
Totally. I was like, is this supposed to be Vashon? Like, what am I
no.
looking? It's not.
Because
it's tiny.
it literally sits out there like it's in the South Pacific or something.
Right.
It's just an island and then water all around it. And you're like, this is nowhere in Washington.
Totally. Yeah, I was very distressed by that. But, there's certain characters that I think I would have liked more if I just had a little more info. And the only solve I can think is if this was like a 10 episode series instead of a movie, because then you could have done like an episode of setup. You could do an episode just on like the big cat guy who we see starts the revolution, and then later he doesn't say anything. He shows up, but you're like, are you not important anymore? Okay, I guess you're just here. Cool.
Fan service. Hi.
Yeah, it was just a lot of like.
Were the robots the designs from the?
A lot of it was.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it was. In fact, they have a lot of shots that are literally stills from like the drawings.
And so the drawings, does it depict like a revolution of robots and all of that?
It's hard to know exactly what's happening. Like you can see that there are a bunch of dead robots in desolate areas. You can see that people now have these like specialized helmets.
Okay.
I tried to find out how much the artist had influence on the script. And it was really interesting because they did change his piece a lot. I think he was very heavily involved initially and then not so much, but he was like, apparently he has a couple kids and he was like, I don't care. It's a universe. Do what you want in there. It's great. And my kids can watch this. And that's one story that takes place in the Electric State. And I'm down. So
Oh, that's cool.
Your check was huge.
Yeah.
totally that too. I mean, the last book he did, he ran as a Kickstarter. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I'm like, I don't think he's rolling in it, even though he's pretty prolific and does. I mean, so many people have his work on their shelves, but
Well, that's cool.
yeah.
I loved Chris Pratt's little robot buddy.
He was great. Yeah, I liked the robot. I didn't hate the little yellow robot guy either. I thought Millie Bobby Brown did fine.
Good,
You
yeah.
know, she was.
Mr. Peanut, wasn't that Woody Harrelson doing
Yeah,
that
it was
voice?
Woody Harrelson.
I was like, this is a good role for him.
There was a lot of famous people that just kept rolling, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait,
That's
okay,
why
Stanley
the-
Tucci's here?
Budget.
Fine, all right.
Budget going up and up.
Oh,
It's
yes.
huge. budget,
Also,
so.
Stanley
it's very
Tucci is
expensive.
one of those guys that is suddenly aging into a very handsome older man.
Yeah.
He is.
And I was like, wow, this is not what I expected your third act was going to be.
No, definitely not. And he's doing a lot more like villainy
Yeah.
kind of
It
people.
suits him.
It does. It suits him great. He's nailing it.
The Electric State, that's on Netflix.
Speaking of guys aging into playing villain roles, I watched Heretic with Hugh Grant.
Okay.
I think I enjoyed this more than you did, Kelly.
Probably.
Partially because the Sister Paxson, the Chloe, the blonde character, I knew. I lived and went to school with lived around and went to school with so many people like that.
Wow.
Because it's a Mormon-based concept, and I grew up per capita more than Salt Lake City, Mormon town. So there was a lot of Mormons around.
Yeah.
And she fit that weird, over-the-top glossiness that fits a lot of the Mormons. And Sophie Thatcher again, who I actually watched these movies not quite back to back, but they were back to back movies that I watched. It's like, oh, she's in this too.
She had a strong year.
Yeah. And she is great in it. And she reminded me of the rebellion level Mormons, kind of like one of the girls I dated for on and off for quite a bit in high school. And so there's just like a lot of that, especially the first 2/3.
Yes,
When they get to the resolution, I'm like, well, this is really weird.
Yeah.
I love the idea of what he's setting up to do. But his experiment and his execution of the experiment are weird.
Yeah, it's pretty convoluted.
It is convoluted. It made me feel like the writer was like, I really want to explore this thing that I feel.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not as deep as he thinks it is.
Right.
So he's got Hugh, who is fantastic,
All the the
delivering
main
all
three
of these
were just like-
ideas, but the ideas aren't as impressive as the writer thinks they are.
It does really feel like I'm getting lectured to by like an early college boyfriend about like the state of religion. I'm like,
that's fantastic.
all right.
And they reference in their Book of Mormon,
Yeah.
which I remember seeing, and because of the way I grew up, I watched this with people laughing stuff around me, going, well, this is Mormonism.
Yeah.
This is not a stretch, which is why the little program had an ads for Mormonism in the program for Book of Mormon, because it came out and they all went, oh, all right, yeah. And Topher Grace's character was interesting in the it's not the right, I forget what they call him, but the guy who oversees the missionaries.
Is that who
helps
that
them out.
was? I didn't even put that together.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then, like I said, everybody's performance, though, was stellar.
Really, really
And
good.
I think Hugh Grant has a good future in being intelligent, dark character.
Yeah.
Because I think he did really well in this. And like I said, it does fall apart a little at the end and gets a little like, so that's what you're doing? Okay. But I think it's well worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we have the same
Okay.
feelings on it. It's just I was more angry at the turn that made zero sense. The fact that he's got a maze-like dungeon that is clearly larger than his property underneath his property.
Because that's very, very large.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. Anyways. But worth seeing.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Okay, well, how about we take a little break, guys, and then when we come back, we are talking about foreign disaster flicks.
There's no time to waste in Fire Tower! Harness the power of the elements before you're all burnt to the ground.
Mayday. We have an emergency.
Extinguish the blaze or turn your opponents to fiery ashes. Quick! Get your fire breaks in place and protect your tower. Use your cards and deploy your best strategies to be the last player standing.
Oh, yes, sir. Mission accomplished.
Get ready to fight fire with fire in Fire Tower from Goliath.
We have returned after an intense plumbing discussion.
Well, plumbing angry now.
This is what happens when you are above the age of 40.
You know what? I don't like the way you said that because it sounds like it's my plumbing and something I must have done. We're talking about plumbing at your house.
My house plumbing. Yes. My 1959-year-old house and its plumbing issues. So, yes.
Vanessa, this was your subgenre. You want to tell us what it's all about again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go with a disaster film because I love disaster movies, but with a twist, which is a foreign disaster movie. There's tons of great stuff that have come out in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
A nice like flooding of the gates there's a lot of people who are able to do these kind of bigger budget looking films that might not have been able to before. So I thought we could check them out.
I love it. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes on the Strange Hands radio buzzer to talk about your film.
Awesome. So I went with 2019's Ashfall.
There are 4 magma chambers located under the Pektu Mountain. The remaining 3 chambers will then explode consecutively.
How much time do we have before it explodes again?
Breaking news, the Pektu Mountain has erupted.
According to the latest analysis, it looks like there are 3 more giant magma chambers under the Pektu Sun.
We're sending you out on a new mission. Report to base immediately.
It's our job to fly there, dismantle a few missiles, and get back home safely, okay?
Consider him extremely dangerous, and whatever you do, don't let your guard down.
Protective suit.
I ain't over there. They sent a bunch of Boy Scouts.
Maybe he's not even Lee.
I had a little surprise visitor in the cell. Give me a gun.
What?
Went better than I expected it to.
If we don't stop them, it's over for the North and for the South, so uncuff me and let me out of here!
Do you really believe that we'll be able to get there on time?
But if we can hit it, we could stop the last eruption.
This is a South Korean movie. It had a budget of $17.7 million and a box office of $61.3 million. I haven't seen it outside of streaming here, but obviously it did very well in its home country. It's directed and written by Kim Byun-se, who only has 2 credits. This in Cold Eyes. He's primarily a cinematographer, and he did the camera work on I Saw the Devil. Lee Hao-jun also co-wrote it with him, 4 credits. Nothing you really would have heard of, but he's mostly a writer. Starring Ha Jung-woo, who has 45 credits. We would have seen him in The Handmaiden. Lee Byun-hun, who has 57 credits. He is the star of I Saw the Devil. He's the lead good guy. He was also in The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, and he's the frontman in the Squid Game series.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I know. I keep seeing him and be like, you are so familiar every time. And then like, so I saw the Devil guy again. And then Mao Dong-sek, who has 65 credits, including Train to Busan. He's the wrestler guy. And he's also in all the Roundup movies as the star. So this is the story of a dormant volcano since 1903 going ahead and erupting in the Baekdu Mountain region located on the Chinese-North Korean border, kind of between them and South Korea. Jo In-chang is about to go on leave as his pregnant wife is very soon to deliver, but instead he is called in to help out because of everything that's happening in the country. A scientist who had called this disaster out years ago, Ma Dong-sek, who's that wrestler guy who is super miscast as the nerdy scientist. It's very weird to see this huge buff guy being like, you didn't listen to me 10 years ago. Oh, you all thought I was crazy. Here's my science books. He's forced to help out the government to figure out a plan to save Korea if there's any way that they can save it. Because once the volcano does its big explosion, it's done a little one, but once it does the big one, all these different sites around the country are going to basically collapse or, explode from magma, and the entire place is going to be gone. So he comes up with a plan along with the government to use a team of bomb specialists, including our star, Jo In-chang, and the military, to steal parts of a nuke, the uranium, from North Korea in order to put it into a nuke that they will have placed at just the right spot in a mine to blow up and then prevent the volcano's flow from erupting in the spots it's going to, and instead erupt in different spots and therefore not destroy the entire country. Jo In-chang is assigned to be the captain of a special force team behind the operation, but really just the science unit. And then, of course, the actual guys who are the real military dudes are in a helicopter going into North Korea with them, and the ash cloud comes and they crash. So now this really nerdy other guy is in charge of all these dudes, and he is very bad at his job. They must help free a spy who's jailed in North Korea so that they can find the secret location of the nukes. They find him, but he has other motives. He wants to sell them all out to the Chinese for profit and freedom. He is constantly undermining Jo In-chang and finds ways to escape and then reroute their plans, steal their maps, do all kinds of stuff along the way. However, the spy has his daughter in Korea and eventually kind of decides to swap sides and again, maybe help these guys to save the place where his daughter lives. The rest of the film is kind of this weird buddy comedy between the spy guy and the demo guy as we watch their characters sort of attempt to survive these weird situations between the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Americans, for some reason, and their own government, all trying to kind of undermine their own efforts when they know the only way to save everything is to make this nuke go off in this one spot. So it's a pretty fun disaster film. It has a lot going on. It has a real Roland Emmerich feel to it. They clearly are taking from that narrative. So there's all these different sets of people that you're following. You're following the pregnant wife. You're following the scientist. You're following, the spy guy. You're following the sciencey, like bomb diffusion guys. But the one thing it doesn't get right is knowing how to do the disaster drama. So there's a lot of stuff that just kind of happens out of nowhere, and it's missing that build-up moment to make it really feel stressful. So for example, at the start, you're like, oh no, it's the bit where he's in his car and all of a sudden the buildings are going to start falling. But like, it just feels like nothing. He's just in his car and then all of a sudden he starts running and like the buildings are just, you don't quite get the like, and something rumbles and he sees a thing in the distance and he tries to get out of his car and then you
doesn't
like,
have the Jurassic Park water.
It doesn't have the build up. Yeah. So you get all these huge disaster set pieces and it doesn't quite work. And the only other thing I'll say about it is I do think that Lee Byung-hun, the guy from I Saw the Devil, he's such a good actor. He steals the whole fucking show. Like the minute he's the guy who plays the spy, and the minute he comes on, you're like, I just want to see what the fuck this guy's up to. Yeah, what really the hell? Yeah, he was incredible. So super fun to watch him. But yeah, I highly recommend Ashfall. I didn't write down where I saw it from.
I think it's on Prime.
I think it is on Prime, and I think it's free.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was kind of looking at too.
And Peacock, and Prime, and Tubi. Okay. It's on a bunch.
Good.
I'm curious. And South Korea doesn't have nuclear facilities?
Apparently not. They have like the pieces, but they don't have the uranium. So they had the like actual pieces of the bomb, but they couldn't they needed to get the stuff to fill it in.
Little bit of sending drillers to stop.
100%. 100%. It definitely has that Armageddon feel to it.
Eric, if you don't mind, I'll go next.
Enjoy.
5 minutes. I am talking about a movie from 2012 called The Tower.
근데 너무 고충이라서 다른 소방센터는 진입을 포기한 상태입니다. 오늘밤 12시에 이곳에 재집결한다. 한 명도 빠짐없이. 전 올라가야 합니다. 우리 제 딸이 있어요. 정신 차려, 이 새끼야!
여기서 나갈 수 있을까요? 너무 겁나고 무서워요.
This was directed by Kim Ji-hoon, who has 6 credits, including Sector 7, Sinkhole, and I Want to Know Your Parents.
I do too.
Oh, my.
Written by Kim Ji-hoon and Sang-dong Kim, who only has 3 credits, this and Once Upon a Time in Seoul and The Brotherhood of War, but also Yoo Young-ah, who has 23 credits, including My Annoying Brother, Wedding Dress, and Our Season.
Excellent.
This stars Kim Sang-kyung, 27 credits, including Montage, The Vanished, and Toxic. Soo Kung-gu, 52 credits, including Birthday, The Book of Fish, and Heartbeat. And Son Ye-jin, who has 33 credits, including Spellbound, The Last Princess, and Be With You. Have you guys seen The Tower?
No.
I saw this in the theater when it came out.
Holy shit.
So I was very excited when you chose this kind of thing. I wanted to give it a rewatch. So you guys, it's Christmas Eve in Seoul, Korea, and we are introduced to a bunch of characters. One of them is Lee Dae-ho, who works at Tower Sky, a luxurious landmark building complex that consists of 2 120-story towers of retail, fine dining, and condominiums. His young daughter is there while he gets things ready for the huge Christmas party Tower Sky is throwing for its residents. And also there's the woman he's in love with, although she doesn't know that. So Yoon-hee. His shady boss and owner of the complex is there. An old couple who have met recently and are kindling a new romance. A single, very pregnant woman is there. And 1,000 other residents and workers and such who do not know that the building has faulty sprinklers because of frozen pipes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah. Across town, we are introduced to a rookie fireman who has just joined the fire station, and we get to meet a group of men, including their fire chief, who seem like really great dudes. And that's it. There's no fire. The party goes off without a hitch, and everyone enjoys their holidays. Merry Christmas.
The
Just
movie
kidding.
is 10 minutes long.
One of the extravagant things planned for the building's residents is a group of helicopters with huge snowmaking machines that are going to fly and make sure that Sky Tower has a white Christmas. Things go awry quite quickly when an updraft hits one of the copters, and it, along with this huge snow machine it's carrying, fly right into the side of one of the buildings.
Uh-oh.
Right off the bat, we see a number of pretty horrific deaths as fire breaks out and glass and steel tumbles down on top of people in the streets. And then we are just off and running. The main story is Lee trying to get to So and his daughter, who are stuck in a part of the building that is cut off from the rescue attempts. And this is all cut together with the story of the firefighters who are doing their best to try and save as many people as they can. There is some really amazing disaster set pieces in this, including an elevator that was packed and they refused to let So and the young daughter on it because it was too packed. And then they end up getting stuck and everyone starts cooking alive in there. Their shoes are melting on the floor of the elevator in one of the scenes.
Horrible.
Yep. There is a super stressful part where several people have to jump out of a broken window down to a window washing gondola, then start swinging it back and forth to try to smash the lower windows so they can get back into the building before the gondola falls from all of their weight. And Jeez. I was just like on the edge of my seat. And of course, there's all the cowardice and heroism you would expect from a movie like this, along with the expected sacrifice that needs to be made to save the many people. I will say this movie is fucking great. Eric, remember when I used to do my Sunday morning church and I would just get up early and go to whatever movie was playing at the theater? And this was one of them. I didn't know anything about it. I walked in and I walked out going, what the fuck? This was great. Very cool. A little bit of trivia. The production team built 26 different sets to create the various spaces in the fictional 108-story high-rise building Tower Sky, such as the Chinese restaurant and the pedestrian overpass between the two blocks. Director Kim Ji-hoon was inspired by his personal experience of seeing the 63 building in Seoul for the first time as a middle school student and imagining how it would feel to be trapped inside of it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Kim Ji-hoon spent 2 years on the post-production for this film because of the 1,700 CGI shots. And I'm just going to mention that this has a 29% Rotten Tomatoes critics score and a 60% from the audience. I'm like, what did you guys want? This is clearly if not a remake, very, very inspired by The Towering Inferno, which was an adaptation of a book called The Tower. So... This is available on Prime. Well worth your time. The one thing I will say about these disaster movies from Korea, this was like 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that we need it. This could have lost a half hour easily.
Yeah. I think this one's same. It could have shaved a little bit off there, but that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Nice. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
You will love it. It's really good, and you're just like, I'm stressed. Everybody just calm down. Why won't you let them on the elevator? Eric.
Yes.
What do you got?
I have got from earlier, 1980, Australia, The Chain Reaction.
This is Waldo. Ultimate technology. Inexhaustible power. The future begins here. And here is where it all could end.
You won't get far. Stepping up security. Man must be located and detained, regarded as dangerous. Give him. What
was that?
What was what?
Something on the edge of the road.
It is urgent, Finley. It has happened. I need help. It's too late. You must warn the people.
Heinrich!
Harry? Don't worry. You're safe now.
Security Chief Waldo. Schmidt successfully located but not detained. Await further instructions.
I can't see these people giving us too much resistance.
239.
What is 239?
We must know for sure.
What are you trying to tell us?
It is too late. They have come at last. Pluto's men.
When Sergeant Scream gets back home, there's big trouble up in paradise.
Well, what sort of trouble?
That's what I'm just about to find out, sweetheart.
Something is out of control.
What more do you want from us, for Christ's sake?
Confirm the connection.
too much. Somehow, the one thing that should never have happened has begun. The chain reaction. Soon the dead
Must see truth.
could be the lucky ones.
I don't think I fared as well as you.
Oh, no.
It's not a bad movie, but let me get into it. It's directed by Ian Barry, who directed 2 episodes of Farscape, 14 episodes of Sea Patrol, The Doctor, Blake Mysteries, 12 episodes, so a lot of TV. Ian Barry, who wrote Airtight and short film, and that's all he's got written. So Steve Bisley, who took me a second to remember, but he was in Mad Max and Boar, and 26 episodes of Sea Patrol. And Red Hill. Anna Marie Winchester is 5 episodes of Homicide and Cop Shop. She had a thing, I guess. Richard Moore, who was in Law of the Land, 38 episodes. You see, there's all TV guys, round of the twist. Until we get to Hugh Keen's Burn, who, if you really know Mad Max, you know who this is. I'm looking at going, because I usually, with our shorter time, I try to just 2-3, going, that's got to be Toe Cutter.
Yeah.
And it is. So he's in that. He's also in Farscape and the criminally underrated Blood of Heroes. So this opens with the Western Atomic Long-Term Dumping Organization, or Waldo.
Yes.
So, if you can find a joke for that, let me know. There's a quake of some kind that interrupts safety shit. So things start to go wrong with the fallout. One of the scenes, the sound is interesting in this. So you remember those perpetual ball bouncing things that all the yuppies had on their desks in the 80s? There's one of those. And when the earthquake happened, it starts going. And as the guy's running through the complex trying to sell stuff, you still hear it go tick, tick, tick. Like, that's a strange choice there, guys.
Very artsy.
Causes a massive leak of radioactive material. And a guy who's looking straight into it when it sprays his face like some steam release valve or something. And he's not immediately killed. Wow. So it's like, oh, okay. He ends up being well enough to escape when the overseers of the thing went to make sure we can't let anybody know that this has happened. And he's like, I must let people know that this has happened. And he's pretty fine. I don't know if anybody here watched Chernobyl. You get hit with that much radiation that fast, you're not fine. And you're not fine really quickly. Oh. But there's definite ties to that Mad Max was a recent film, because the lead guy, the hero, is a race car driver who has a kind of a souped up mini truck sort of looking thing that he drives around in the outback and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing here. The problems like overhearing calls or how things are found out and weird little things. The biggest problem it has, this is a setup for, a lot of panic and running around and maybe nothing. The whole thing is this one guy who's got the truck runs in, and his wife run into the guy who's been exposed, and they're taking care of him. And then the people at I'm sure you've seen the cover if you've read anything about sci-fi stuff with the radiation suits that they use in here, because they're very unique looking. And they're also cut to look really cool on the people wearing them. So like they're cinched up sides and all that. But it's like there's a lot to like in this film. And if you took out the middle, a huge chunk of the middle, and you had the beginning and the end, it's pretty entertaining. But the middle is so much of a like Toe Cutter is the I don't remember if he's a reporter, but he's investigating what's going on. He's trying to find out, and the guy with the truck gets arrested, and they spend time in a cell together, and that's how they each find out about each other. And so it was fine. George Miller was originally scheduled to direct, which
interesting.
That might have made a very different film, but he withdrew. But did do some of the stunt scenes, which are stunt scenes and driving scenes were some of the best scenes in the film. He is credited an associate producer and did do some second unit directing for the stunt sequences and some of the other stuff along those lines. Budgeted at about $600,000. And got cut by the down to $450,000, and it looks to wear for that. And when that got cut, that's when George Miller came in and said, I'll help you guys, but I can't direct this film. Even with that, though, it went 40% over budget.
Wow.
So there's a Ford Fairlane LTD featured in the movie, of course. But overall, it's just fine. I mean, it's a good little Aussie exploitation kind of film, but it's not what I was hoping for in a disaster movie.
Two things. Toe Cutter was also a Morton Joe, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing was, so I don't think you said the year on this. It must have been early
1980.
80s. Oh, it was 1980. So that's
right in that. I think Mad Max was 79.
79 and Road Warrior 81, I think. So, okay.
I wonder what George was working on.
Right. He's like, I can't direct this, you guys. I got something going on.
Well, I got to direct one of the most successful post-apocalyptic films ever made.
I'm sad that you didn't get a great flick. It sounds like you need to either watch The Tower or Ashfall.
Yeah, it was good, but it was definitely it was a 70s, 80s kind of finding our way film.
I almost pulled out. Remember that one we both watched a couple years ago about the volcano at the resort?
I know.
I was looking at that and I was like, oh, I've seen that too recently. I don't think I want to watch this one again.
That's how I felt too. And I was like, and it's like a Chinese production, so there's a lot of like glossy, like pro-China stuff in it. So I was like,
I'd forgotten about that.
But Jason Isaacs, so you know.
Yeah.
Well, what was the movie where the moon was going to hit the earth?
Moonfall.
It was Moonfall. Okay.
That's an
that was in my
American
head. One
production.
can't be that basic, but I guess it is.
Yeah. No. It's in fact just that basic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Vanessa, anytime you want to pick disaster movies, I'm going to be on board.
Just change this whole podcast. I'm ready.
Welcome to Strange Disasters.
Speaking of changing the podcast, this would be normally where we pick somebody to talk about the subgenre, but this time it's from our friend Micah, who was kind enough to donate a lovely amount of moolah.
Yes,
and then
Thank you.
He said he wanted us to do a Tubi episode.
I also want to quickly thank him for he's revamped our listings of all the films we've ever talked about, so we should be hopefully be able to make that public here in a couple weeks or sooner. So that's great.
There's a lot of time and effort, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this is, he's taken the value for value model seriously.
Yes.
Got a little value out of this and given a tremendous amount back. And thank you so much, Micah. If you would like to be like Micah, it's super easy. You can do it by just liking and sharing posts when the movie or when the episode comes out. You can call us on the Strange Eons Radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. You can tell your friends you like this episode or any episode or all the episodes. You can give us money.
That's right. Or, if you're that kind of person, say, God, you can't believe how weird and ridiculous these people are. You've got to listen to it.
Right.
Feel free.
Right.
But yes.
So thanks to everyone who does that kind of stuff. We really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in 7 short days. We are talking Tubi films. Micah picked out our films for us. So yeah, this should be interesting. All right, guys. I'll see you next Thursday. Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
In fact, just that basic.